for the rest of our wonderful Seder members to arrive. So those of you who are seated already, why don't you turn to a person sitting next to you, and there's a question that you can answer if you feel so inclined. And the question is, what is my Egypt that I want to leave this year? So while we wait, we have this big question. Each of us has an Egypt, has a thing that you want to go. So each of us has an Egypt, like a thing that we want to leave behind, like a thing that we feel uncomfortable. Sorry?
The speakers aren't working that well. You're pretty soft.
Oh.
We can hear you because we're standing right here. You could ask them to hear you. Not touching Carl's walk. Okay. Well, in general, I would say it's only the better. Leonard, I would say in general.
Chag Sameach, Chag Sameach. I think we all have many Egypts, many things that we want to leave. I think we all have many Egypts, many things that we want to leave behind, many things that we want to be liberated from. And I think one of the things that the Jewish people will never be liberated from is being a bit late, or rather operating on, as they call it in Israel, on Zman Midbar, so on desert time. So being always 15 minutes late. And we're 15 minutes past the time of the arrival, so we're officially starting our Seder. It's going to be a Seder according to the Kirschenbaum family tradition. And the Kirschenbaum family tradition is, if the Seder is too long, that is not a good Seder. It's in Hebrew, in the language of Hebrew, it's not Beseder, it's not in order. So it's going to be a relatively short and sweet Seder. I can see Mitch approves, amazing. And also, you will notice that we will not be lighting the candles of Yom Tov, because in the Reform tradition, the second day of Passover is not a Yom Tov. But so we have this interesting kind of dichotomy that we mark it as a powerful custom of being together, but not as a Yom Tov per se. In any case, it's always a wonderful opportunity to be together, to deal with different things, that different aspects of freedom in our life and the ways in which we can support each other. And what do we do when we want to say that it's good to be together? We sing Hinematov, and you should find Hinematov on your Haggadah printouts on page 1 of the printout.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד.
When I was in my freshman year at college, I took a class called How to Give a Presentation. And our professor told the following: first say all the things that you're going to mention in the presentation, and then do them all in the same order. And I think our rabbis followed his advice, because this is exactly what we do. First we sing all the elements of the Seder in a song, and then once we have the list in front of our eyes, and also in this wonderful tune that helps us remember, we know what's coming next. So let's sing it, and you can find it in this little table on page 1 and page 2 of our printout.
And as a heads up, this will be a familiar tune. It's the tune of It's a Small World. So please sing along with me. Kadesh orchatz karpas yachatz magid rachza motzi matzah maror orech shulchan orech tzafon barech hadel nirtza. Let's try it one more time. Kadesh orchatz karpas yachatz magid rachza motzi matzah maror korech shulchan orech tzafon barech hadel nirtza.
Our Passover Seder loves the number 4, and one of the most famous number 4s are, of course, 4 cups of wine or grape juice. And now is the time to fill the first of them, because we're going to be saying the Kiddush for a Passover Seder. So pour your friend a glass of wine. Together with 3 people, today will being served. Let's fill our glasses as we bless this wonderful festival.
Baruch atah Adonai
Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar banu mikol am,
v'ramamanu
v'natan
mikol
lashon,
lashon,
v'kiddushanu b'mitzvotav.
v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava, moadim l'simcha, chagim uzmanim l'sason, את יום חג המצות הזה,
הזה.
זמן חירותנו מקרא קודש, זכר
יציאת
יציאת מצרים.
מצרים.
כי בנו
בחרת.
בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ומועדי קודשך בשמחה ובששון הנחלתנו.
ברוך אתה אדוני,
מקדש
ישראל
ישראל
וחזמנים.
וחזמנים.
L'chaim. I also want to acknowledge the fact that this is our, many of us had communal seder, had family seders yesterday, but it's our first communal seder this season. So I think Shechrianu is in order, and also Shechrianu is in order because I think this is Edwin's first seder. So Edwin is here. He's our youngest participant, and let's say Shechrianu for everyone here, and in particular for Edwin.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheyanu v'kiyamanu v'higiyanu lazman hazeh.
We have now come to the symbolic washing of hands, this time without a blessing. And for the sake of a Kirschenbaum family tradition, which means a short Seder, I will be the person who's going to ritually wash my hands, and you can feel spiritually cleansed as a result. And now we get to try the first of our Passover foods, and it is of course karpas, which is our parsley, and we are going to dip it in the salty water, which is in this little cup over here, and that of course represents the bitter tears of slavery and oppression that our ancestors experienced in Egypt. Let's say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'adama. Amen. The tears are particularly salty this year, as you might have noticed, if you dipped well enough. We now take a matzah, and we break the matzah, the middle matzah on the plates that have a cover, or you just break a piece of matzah. And by breaking the piece of matzah, we recognize that the world is broken, that there are so many things in our universe and also in our lives that need repairing. And of course, we think of the things that break our hearts, the wars in Ukraine, and of course in the land of Israel. How does it? It's okay. Oh, there it is. Now, as we broke the matzah, let's take the upper matzah, the unbroken one, and let's raise it together, all of us, and let us say the words of Lachma Anya, the words that tell us that are all those who are poor, who are in need of invitation to the Seder so that they can be supported and sustained.
Halachma anya diachalu, achalu av hatana ve'ara demitzrayim, ve'ara demitzrayim, kol dichvin yete ve'yachol, kol ditzrich yifsach ashatacha Leshana haba be'arade Yisrael Hashatavde Leshana haba b'nei horim.
Let's read together in English. This is the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Anyone who is hungry should come and eat. Anyone who's needy should come and spend the Seder with us. Now we're here. Next year we'll be in the land of Israel. This year we're slaves. Next year we'll be free people. If you are a rabbi and you are present in the building during religious school, you hear the words of Manishtana rehearsed at religious school for weeks before the Seder, because of course each and every child in the community needs to be ready for the Seder. And it is a tradition, of course, that the youngest participant would sing it, but I think Edwin is a bit too young for this. He's now very busy biting his toy. So let's have all the children lead us as we sing Manishtana together, because guess what? There's always a group of people where we are the youngest one.
Manishtana halayla hazeh mikol haleilot mikol haleilot shebechol haleilot anu ochlim chametz umatzah chametz umatzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah shebechol haleilot anu ochlim she'ar yerakot halayla hazeh maror halayla hazeh maror shebechol haleilot ein anu matbilin afilu pa'am echad halayla hazeh shetei pe'amim halayla hazeh shetei pe'amim shebechol haleilot anu ochlim ben yoshvin uvein mesuvin halayla hazeh kulanu mesubim halayla hazeh kulanu mesubim.
Our next prayer is Avadim Chayinu, which literally means we were slaves. And I think we don't have to look back to the times of slavery in Egypt to think of the moments when we feel like we have been slaves, of circumstances where we had not enough control over our lives. And when this time is over, when we are back in control, or at least we have more control, we can say that we are B'nai Chorin. We are free, or at least freer people. We have agency. So as we come to Avadim Chayinu, I encourage you to think of the moments when you didn't have full control over your lives, and the way that you found to be more in a place when you can decide your fate.
Avadim hayinu lefaro b'Mitzrayim Avadim hayinu ata b'nei chorin.
Avadim
hayinu. Ata b'nei chorin b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu, hayinu. Lefaro b'mitzrayim, b'mitzrayim. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorin. Avadim hayinu. Ata b'nei chorin, b'nei chorin.
At the group of Reform rabbis, there was a debate a couple of weeks ago about the prayer that feels closer to home than ever this year. And the winner in this discussion was Vehisha Amda, because Vehisha Amda literally tells us that in every generation there was an enemy or a force that wanted to harm the Jewish people, that didn't wish us well. And then Vehisha Amda also tells us that in each generation, the Jewish people found a way to overcome these challenges. And so I call this prayer our We Shall Overcome prayer. As we sing it, I encourage you to think of all the moments in your family history and in your personal history of being Jews when being Jewish wasn't easy, and yet you overcame and you're here.
Vehi she'amda, la'avotenu velanu. Vehi she'amda, la'avotenu velanu. Shelo echad bilvad, amad aleinu lechalotenu. Shelo echad bilvad, Amad aleinu lechalotenu, ele shebechol dor vador, omdim aleinu lechalotenu, ele shebechol dor vador, omdim aleinu lechalotenu, v'hakadosh baruch hu, matzilenu mi'adam, v'hakadosh baruch hu, matzilenu mi'adam.
In every generation we face danger, but God and our tradition helped us overcome them. And now we come to the part of the Seder which many of us like so much, because there is a lot of going on, a lot of fun images of the plagues. And we'll start getting into the plague mood with the song 10 Plagues in Egypt Land.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plagues in Egypt land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plagues in Egypt land. Blood in the water made the river run red. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Pharaoh should have listened to what God said. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Frogs were jumping in Pharaoh's hair. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Pharaoh didn't like it, but the frogs didn't care. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Creepy, crawly, itchy lice. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Mess with the Holy One, better think twice. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Filthy flies, so dirty and vile. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Not exactly Pharaoh style. 10 plagues in Egypt land. The cattle and the horses and the oxen died. 10 plagues in Egypt land. I won't give up, old Pharaoh cried. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Boils and blisters on his skin. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Give it up, Pharaoh, you're never gonna win. 10 plagues in Egypt land. The hail rained down from the heavens on high. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Hurt so much made Pharaoh cry. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Swarms of locusts ate the crops. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Hard-hearted Pharaoh just wouldn't stop. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Dark descended in the light of the day. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Pharaoh was lost, couldn't find his way. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Firstborn, the final blow. 10 plagues in Egypt land. Finally, Pharaoh let the people go. 10 plagues in Egypt land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plagues in Egypt land. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 plagues in Egypt land.
Even though plagues are a big part of the Exodus story, we don't want to create an impression that we actually gloat over the misfortune of our enemies. And so we'll now come to the reading of the plagues in English and in Hebrew, and with each plague we'll take 1 drop of wine or grape juice out of your cups to remember that while we might have an impulse for revenge or retribution, our tradition tells us that this impulse must be controlled and contained, that we need to find a way to embrace a more compassionate outlook and mindset. Let's prepare our cups and our fingers, and we say together, blood, dam, frogs, tzfardea, lice, kinim, beasts, arov, cattle disease, dever, boils, shechin, hail, barad, locusts, arbe, darkness, choshech, death of the firstborn, makat bechorot. Realizing how many miracles the Passover story involved, and realizing how many miracles that we should be grateful for are present in our everyday lives, we come to the words of Dayenu, which are literally telling us it is enough for us. We have so much to be grateful for.
Ilu hotzianu, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, hotzianu mi Mitzrayim, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu karavanu et hayam, karavanu et hayam, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et hashabat, natan lanu et hashabat, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu et haTorah, natan lanu et haTorah, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu hisnalanu, l'Eretz Yisrael, hisnasanu l'Eretz Yisrael, dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu.
So we have in our tradition a couple of sages, a couple of rabbis who are kind of behind the scenes rabbis who did a lot, but we don't remember them enough. And the biggest of them is Rabban Gamliel, who among other things commissioned the writing of the Amidah, which we say every prayer, but most of us don't know that he was responsible for the compilation of the Amidah as we know today. What we do know, however, is that Rabban Gamliel helped to write the Haggadah as we know today. And this is what he said about what a Haggadah should involve. Rabban Gamliel said, every Passover Seder should include the story of these three items: the lamb bone, the matzah, and the maror, the bitter herbs. So let's look at what we have on our Seder plate, and let's start from the lamb bone. This roasted lamb bone is called Pesach, the Hebrew name for the Passover holiday. Why is it on our Seder table? On the Jews' last night as slaves in Egypt, each family shared a feast of roasted lamb. When God sent the frightening 10th plague to every house in Egypt, God passed over, plot twist, or skipped the houses where Jews were getting ready to go free. The lamb was a sign to God that the Jews were choosing to go free, or more likely the lamb's blood on the doorposts. The lamb bone connects us to that first Passover celebration and reminds us that we are choosing to celebrate Passover now, that we are not skipping or passing it over. Now our matzah. Let's raise the matzot if you have one at the ready. This matzah that we will eat in a few moments, why is it on our Seder table? Matzah is made of the same dough as bread, but we mix and bake it much faster, below 18 minutes to be exact. That is why it stays flat and dry. Matzah reminds us that when Pharaoh finally agreed to let us go, we had to leave Egypt fast. There was no time to get ready or to wait. Eating matzah at the Seder, not just yet, reminds us of slavery and also of freedom, because we took it with us to eat when we could not stay as slaves even one more hour. So let's be prepared. And then, of course, we have our maror, and this bitter vegetable is called maror, which means something bitter. Why is it on our Seder table? Maror has a sharp, harsh taste. Eating the maror is supposed to sting our mouths a little, or if you're eating horseradish, more than a little. Maror's harshness reminds us how hard and painful it was being slaves in Egypt. It helps us imagine soreness in our backs from lifting heavy bricks. If you're over 35, you don't need to imagine that. That's real. It reminds us of the pain in our hearts when we thought we would never be free. To understand how important freedom is, it is not enough for us to talk about slavery. Tasting the maror, we make sure we also feel at least a little bit like the slaves who felt bitter pain. It helps us remember that when we get a choice, we choose to go free. In every generation, no matter how long ago the first Passover night was, we try to feel that we ourselves are going free right now. And now, realizing, in the words of Rabbi Gamliel, what Passover is all about, it's time to be grateful for freedom, and it's time to sing a little bit. And there, of course, the joyful singing has its name in Judaism. It's called Hallel, the Psalms of Hallel. So let's say the blessing on page 12 for the singing of Hallel. And it goes like this. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu likro etcha Hallel. And the one psalm that we're going to sing is a psalm that is literally titled Betzet Israel Mimitzrayim. So as the Israelites were going out of Egypt.
Betzet Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov lo'ez, Betzeit Yisrael, Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov, Me'am lo'ez, Hayta Yehuda lekodsho, Israel, Ma'am Shelotav, Hayam Ravayanos, Hayarden Yisov leachor, Betzeit Yisrael, Mitzrayim, Beit Yaakov, Me'am lo'ez.
And now we can fill our second cup of wine, because now is the time when we go and not drink it yet, of course, because Judaism is very confusing. And we say the blessing on page 13, which is a blessing for first of all, the redemption, liberation, and then, of course, for drinking our second cup of wine. Dear God, creator of our world, thank you for making us and our families safe and free, and for bringing us safely to this night to eat matzah and maror at this Seder. Dear God, thank you for making us free. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Israel. And then now the blessing for the drinking of the fruit of the vine, be it wine or grape juice. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hagafen. Amen lechaim. We are on track to a below 40-minute Seder, don't worry. And we now are on page 14, when we first wash our hands, this time with the blessing. So let's say the blessing for the washing of hands, which is the first blessing on the page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al netilat yadayim. And now comes the moment that we've all been waiting for, the moment when we say the blessings for the eating of matzah, and then we'll be able to taste our bread of freedom. Let's say together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat matzah. We now jump to page 16. Maror, the bitter vegetable, gives us a small taste of slavery. We say a blessing over the maror, but when we eat it, we do not lean to the side. For this moment, and just for this moment, the moment of bitterness, we are slaves again. Before we eat the maror, we dip it in the charoset. This is the second dipping mentioned in the 4 questions. The first one being the dipping of karpars or parsley in salt water. And charoset, of course, with its color, reminds us of the color of bricks that our ancestors made in Egypt. So let's get a piece of our maror, bitter herbs, and a piece of charoset as well, and let's eat them together as we say Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, tzivanu al achilat maror. And now the time has come to prove that the Jews not only were connected to the British during the Palestinian Mandate, but also that the Jews won not only the independence game, but also the sandwich game. Because you might call it a sandwich from the Lord of Sandwich, the Earl of Sandwich, but we believe that that the very first sandwich was actually invented by Hillel, who took two pieces of matzah and combined charoset and maror between two pieces of matzah and ate it, thereby reminding us both about the sweet and the bitter and the need to liberate. And as we put this sandwich together, together now, we remember that our life is complex with bitterness, sweetness, and with the potential to be free. Of course, of course. This means that our next item on the list is the meal. So we'll reconvene with the telling of the story of Exodus after the meal. And I'm pleased to announce that I kept my timing. It's 38 minutes. Dinner can be served. Common, or to be more specific, there are two afikommens, and both of them are equally valid, and each of them comes with a prize for a person who finds it of $1. That's quite a price. And they are both here in this room. So if you want to balance your books, now is your chance to be $1 closer to this goal. The search is on.
So go. Let her, Carl, go look for the afikoman. What is it doing? Carl, go look for the afikoman. They did matzah. Carl, do you need help with your hearing aid? Carl, do you need help with your hearing aid? You don't want to? Are you just too tired? You don't have to, sweetie. It's okay. Do you want to put your hearing aid back on? Battery? Carl, can I see your hearing aid?
You were close. Look once again. Look again. That's amazing. Wow. We have afikoman number 1, and Rabbi Miriam is the rich lady of today with $2. She is now she has now parted her way with $1. She has one more dollar to go. Come on, cost of living is high. Do your job.
Yeah. Carl, here.
Oh my goodness, Leonard is on his way. Will he find the second one? Will he or will he not? Will the Nolte clan dominate this competition? Or is there... Woo! Woo! And this double find means that we can actually come to our blessing after eating, and you can find it on page 18.
Chaverai nevarech.
Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach la'ata ve'ad olam.
Yehi Shem Adonai Marach me'ata ve'ad olam. Bershut Chaverai nevarech Eloheinu shalchanu mishalo.
Baruch Eloheinu shechalnu mishalo uvtuvo chayinu.
Baruch Eloheinu shalchanu mishalo uvtuvo chayinu. Baruch hu Baruch Shemo.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hazan et haolam kulo betuvo
V'chen v'chesed u'vrachamim.
Hu noten lechem
lechol basar
lechol
ki le'olam chasdo.
U'tuvo
U'tuvo hagadol
Tamid
tamid
lo
lo chasar lanu
lu
ve'al yachsar lanu
Mazon
mazon
le'olam
le'olam va'ed
va'ed
ba'avur
U'shemo
shemo
hagadol
hagadol ki uzanu farnes lakol
Metiv lachol u'mechin lazon
Bechol
Noiotav
veriotav asher bara
Baruch atah Adonai
Hazan
Dach
et hakol
le'lakol
Oseh shalom
Lom
bimromav
bimromav
Hu
Hu
ya'aseh
ya'aseh
shalom
shalom
Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru Amen.
We now come to our third cup of wine. So let's pour our friends and family members some more wine or grape juice. Could you pour me some wine? And let's say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri chagafein. Amen. L'chaim. Where's the cup of... Where's... Oh, there it is. So now as you can imagine, in ancient days, the Jews in the shtetls and the ghettos, once they hit the third cup, they felt a bit risky and empowered, which means that they felt the courage to open the door and to do two things. First thing is to pour out the wrath for all the bad things that happened to them throughout the year. Now it was the chance when the neighbors were asleep to say all the things, that they couldn't say on an every other day and night of the year. But the other thing that they did, they invited Prophet Elijah in. And Prophet Elijah was the prophet who was supposed to be the messenger of redemption, the messenger of hope. And in this year, this hope feels very much needed. We are waiting for Elijah, and we realize that this is a very painful year for the Jewish people. And so the poet of the Reform movement, American Israeli poet Alden Solowy, he wrote that Prophet Elijah is not coming to our Seder because Prophet Elijah is with the hostages, and Prophet Elijah is parleying with God to hope that the hostages will be released. We don't know where Elijah is, but we can do two things. We can stand up if you're able to do so and invite the hope in. And as we invite the hope in, let us also pour out some of the things that have been hard this year. Let's exchange our resignation and maybe even hope for some retribution, and let's imbibe and let's invite hope and compassion instead. It's a tough balance in a tough year, but only this way we can move forward into a better world, one step closer to the promised land. Let's stand together as we invite Elijah, invite hope, and pour out the resignation and pour out the sense of hopelessness that many of us experienced throughout these past months since October 7th.
Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Eliyahu, Eliyahu, Eliyahu Gagiladi, Bimhera Beyamenu, Yavo Eleinu, Imashiach ben David, Imashiach ben David.
Our next prayer is Chodul Adonai, and which is a part of Hallel. And in this prayer we say Yomar na Israel ki leolam chasdo, and the people of Israel shall say that God's kindness is great. So I encourage you to sit down and turn to your neighbor and do what the psalm tells us to do. So tell your neighbor, somebody who you're sitting with, what you're grateful for this Seder, this season.
I'm turning off my mic, but I am grateful to be here. I'm enjoying my position here.
I mean, we're so grateful to have you.
But yeah, no, it's been a nice change.
Oh, thank you.
And I have a great coworker right here.
Oh. Even when sometimes he should not leave the things for the we have done by mentioning things, by naming by naming things that we're grateful for. We truly invite and model hope into our lives. And by doing so, we invite Elijah in, knowing that when we develop a sense of agency and gratitude, are able to be Elijahs of this universe and this community, bringing about a more empowered reality. Being thankful for others and being thankful for our agency, let's fill up our cups as we come to our final fourth cup of the Seder. Everybody has got wine? I think you do. So let's say together the last time we say the blessing over wine or grape juice. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Amen lechaim. So, Seder wouldn't be a Seder without one animal. And I don't mean frogs, and I don't mean other things that appear in the plagues. The Seder wouldn't be the Seder without just one little goat. Or in Aramaic, Chad Gadya. So what we're going to do, we're going to make it the loudest part of the Seder so that we go out with a bang. And anytime I mention an animal, I encourage you to make a noise that you think the animal makes. And I can say that having experienced many Seders, I can tell you that each, with the exception of a cat, which is always meow, every family has a different version of what an animal does. And when it comes to the angel of death, or what does a stick do, or what does a fire do? Well, that is a pure cacophony. So let's make it a truly cacophonous event as we have our Hadgadia. And the way we're going to do it, I'm going to read it in English because I don't think many of you are fluent in Aramaic, with the exception of Rabbi Miriam, of course. And then we're going to have the refrain of Chad Gadya. Clear? All clear? I think that's great. My father bought it just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Then the cat meow came and ate the goat. What does the goat do? That my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Then the dog Bark came and beat the cat that ate the goat that my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Then the stick, what does this? Came and bit the cat that ate the goat that my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
And as you can see, the chain was broken, but it doesn't bother us. Then the fire came and burned the stick that hit the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the goat, that my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya.
Then the water came and put out the fire that burned the stick, that hit the dog, and that bit the cat, that ate the goat, that my father bought for just 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Then the ox came and drank the water, that put on the fire, that burns the stick, that hit the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the goat, that my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Then the butcher came, chop chop, and slaughtered the ox, that drank the water, that put on the fire, that burns the stick, that hit the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the goat, that my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Now come the big boys. Then the angel of death came and killed the butcher, that slaughtered the ox, that drank the water, that put on the fire, that burned the stick, that hit the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the goat, that my father bought for just 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Then God came and defeated the angel of death. What does the God do? Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, of course. Then God, Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo, came and defeated the angel of death, that killed the butcher, that slaughtered the ox, that drank the water, that put out the fire, that burned the stick, that hit the dog, that bit the cat, that ate the goat, that my father bought just for 2 coins.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Well, now we know that that we're going to have a special reading of Jonah, and some of you will be the fish, and some of you will be the whale. There you go. The roles have been cast. And with this understanding that we should already look forward to the future and the amazing times together, let us read the conclusion of our Seder. Let's read together. We began the Seder as slaves, tasting salty tears. Then we raced through the desert sand and ate matzah baked in a hurry. We passed through the sea of reeds and escaped from Pharaoh's army. We praised God for helping us escape and saving our lives. Our job of remembering and reliving this amazing adventure is now complete. We have finished our Seder and told our story of freedom. We now move from the past to the future. How will I grow this year? How will the world change? How can we keep moving from slavery to freedom? And we say, L'shana Chaba'a B'Yerushalayim. Next year in Jerusalem. Next year may all people be free. Next year may all hostages celebrate with us. Thank you so much. This concludes the official part of the Seder. It was a pleasure and an honor to go on this journey with you. But Passover is not over. We still have many days to enjoy wonderful matzah bread and yearn for beer and pizza. Thank you.
L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da. Yai da 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 da.
Moadim lesimcha, everyone. May you have a wonderful rest of this season of freedom, and may we be motivated and inspired to seek to fight for freedom in this country and everywhere we happen to have agency to change things.